Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 82 of the Eagle Talk. My beautiful bride is here. She's still rocking her braids.
Hey, y'all.
And today is going to be a good episode.
Yes, it is. So today we are talking about working on your business instead of just working in your business. So you definitely want to make sure that you are tagging and sharing this episode with all of your entrepreneur friends, because we know from firsthand experience that it is really easy to get lost in the weeds while you are building a business and not necessarily thinking about how to scale and grow and working on something that is going to provide you freedom. And that's really what it should be. But first, let's check in, baby.
Yeah. Where are we? We are here. Just got back from Broken Bow, which was a well-needed rest and relaxation kind of trip. More of a our annual goal setting trip, really what it was. We normally do it after Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And we have just so much going on within the life of Corey and Rosemary. We decided to do it at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we chose to.
We
had a different idea. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in this episode too.
Yeah, it was good. It was goal setting. It was masterminding. It was hiking, which we hadn't done since Colorado a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was a little rough.
Yeah, you were not about that hiking life.
No, no, I wasn't. I tried though.
But not because you physically couldn't do it, but Corey is the type of person that like where a lot of guys like to go hoop and play basketball or softball. Corey like, nah, I can't afford to break my ankle.
Yeah, no. I mean, the hiking was cool. I actually like hiking. It was just, this was different. I don't know how to explain it. It was just different than it was in Colorado. Colorado wasn't.
It was more rocky.
Yeah.
It was rockier.
Yeah. Colorado was a mountain.
Yes.
And this was just woods.
And he was also not about that life. Like, I'm like, okay, let's go down. And he like, no, ma'am, you're going to go right down this path with these other people walking.
Yeah. But it was a good time. I think we learned a lot. We definitely kind of restructured some goals and some systems that we were working on. Everything is in writing and it's time to go.
So my check-in would just be a little bit of piggybacking off of the reason we went to Broken Bow. So we were scheduled to be in Las Vegas because my brokerage, eXp Realty, has their national conference. And historically, we go every year. Yeah. Because we really believe in masterminding with other people in your industry, always something to learn. Like, we don't proclaim to be the people who know everything. So we really invest in that experience. But leading up to it, I wasn't excited about it. And I had to decide, like, am I not excited about it? Because sometimes you have to push yourself, right, to go. But
and
really,
ironically, normally you are excited about it.
I am excited. Yeah. But this year has been a challenging year. Yeah. So I had to decide, like, okay, is this one of those instances where I need to push myself beyond what's comfortable, or do I really need to sit and listen to what I need? And it was the latter. And what we decided was that, we wouldn't go to eXpCon, but we would take the time to work on our business, right? So it's not like, hey, I'm not going to go to eXpCon, but this means I'm a Netflix and chill over that time, since our schedules were already blocked. Yeah. So that we could be on that vacation. We were like, okay, well, how do we pivot? And that was good. And so my check-in is really like, sometimes and I keep saying this to y'all, take the time to really sit down and think about what you need, what your body, your mind, your mindset, your mental health, like, where do you need to check in? And sometimes we do need to push and honor some commitments, but then when I really thought about it, like, nobody was checking for me at eXpCon. Right. I wasn't committed to speak or teach anything, or
I got one call, and it was are you there? I'm about to send you $500 to put on the table. So
exactly.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so it was like sometimes we put pressure on ourselves that we didn't need. Yeah. And I think that we did a really good job of spending that time, reallocating that time to work on not just our business, but just on our plans for later. Yeah,
I actually like that we did that, because actually it was, not only was it different for us, it was our first time going. Yeah. And we found a place that we liked.
Yeah,
right?
It was cool. It was cool.
Little small area, but I mean, it was still kind of quirky and quanky enough. Is that a word?
Quanky? I don't know. I think you made that up, but I like it.
Okay.
Well,
like
quaint
and quaint. Yeah. It was
quaint, but it's like you put quaint and perky together. I don't know, quanky.
Well, it was low key enough and a small town atmosphere, but we love water.
Yeah.
So it kind of had all of the things that it checked all of our boxes.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not, I know that a lot of people in North Dallas or Texas in general are familiar with Broken Bow. It's really it felt very Ozark-ish.
It did.
That's what we were like, what does this feel like? It felt like Ozark.
It did.
Like, so I don't know, it was probably a drug lord there somewhere who's pushing meth. But
they're building some beautiful cabins.
Oh, it's beautiful cabins. I mean, we've heard about it. And I think that honestly, we hadn't been before because we are so fast paced.
Yeah.
So even the first day I got there, I called our director of operations, Kim, because she's been to Broken Bow a couple times and like, oh, I love Broken Bow. So I was like, so what am I supposed to do here? Right. And she's like, you're supposed to relax. You're supposed to think. You're supposed to take it all in. And I was not unsettled, but I was a little bit like the first hour. But we made a good use of our time. So if you are interested in going to Broken Bow, or you need like some time away but some think time, and I want to say this too, like we could have stayed home because our youngest son was gone, but there was something so powerful about shifting your environment. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say that to business owners, because sometimes if you are only working from home or only working from your office, and it can feel mundane, just shift your environment. And if you can't get to a cabin in Broken Bow, just sometimes going to a coffee house or sitting outside, or I was even looking at my neighborhood and I passed a bench that faced like the water,
yeah.
And I was like, why don't I ever just ride my bike up here and sit and journal or outline my courses and stuff? So shift of environment is huge.
Yeah. So segueing into the subject of today,
yes.
Working on your business and not in your business, I think we need to kind of define what that means.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm coming off, I don't want to say a burnout, but I'm coming off.
But it's okay. Like you keep saying, I don't want to say a burnout, but that is very realistic. A lot of people go through burnout. And I think for men especially, they need to hear you say that you were experiencing that, because men are not vulnerable enough to say, you know what, life was whipping my Mickey Ficky butt, but now I'm okay.
Okay, well, I'm coming off a burnout, and I don't know if it was life or if it was business,
or a combination.
Yeah, because business is on. Y'all know I'm up late just studying people or listening to something, or just, she says I'm always consuming information.
I'm trying to get his consumption down a little bit.
Yeah, and I think she's right. And just the last probably.
Say that again.
I think you're right.
Okay.
I'm gonna
play this again.
Yeah, but like, I did it last night. It's a new podcast that I'm listening to. Really dope cat. I'll talk about that later. But so I'm coming off of that. Know that I got my mojo back because I'm on fire this week. The wires are hitting from previous months' work, and that's a great feeling because it just let me know that even though I was kind of tired of the business, I was still working.
Yeah.
But as far as the on your business part, I don't know if I've said this to them before, but I recently started a team. Mm-hmm. Just a small team. It's only like,
don't minimize it.
Not minimize it, but it's just 4 or 5 people. It's not a 50-person team, so it's not minimization. It is what it is, and that's what I desire right now, and that's on my business. So everybody has a role, and I realize that has allowed me to do what I do best, and that's acquire.
Yes,
I love talking to sellers. I love talking to wholesalers. I love identifying a deal, and then I push it off to my dispositions department, and they sell what I acquire. So that is just a new way that I'm doing things, and it's working for me.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, and what happens a lot of times, especially with solopreneurs, right? For those of us who have a petite team, mm-hmm. or a smaller team in numbers, or we are working on our own, it's real easy, especially because when you're building and when it first starts, a lot of times you have to put your hands and feet in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's real easy to get to the place of burnout because you're doing all the things, mm-hmm. right? You're doing all the things, and you can't see a way out of doing all the things.
Right.
Like in order for this ship to go, you have to be the one to do whatever it is that you have to do for the business. So on the real estate side, like, am I the person doing all my paperwork? Am I the person showing all the homes? Am I the person, recording my content and trying to edit and do this and that, and then doing my paperwork and doing all the scheduling? Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is now you are working for yourself, but we find ourselves on a hamster wheel, which is even more exhausting than when you were working for someone else, because their business may have been running as such where everyone had a role, where now we're doing all the roles. And the tough part, I think, for many entrepreneurs, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience, is that we're so hands-on and our business is our baby that it's hard to step away and it's hard to grow because we don't step away to see, okay, what systems do I need to put in place so that this runs and it can run without my effort.
Yeah, I was talking to Johnny about this yesterday, and he was like, it's okay. He said, what did he say to me? He said, you just need to learn to trust people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess you're right. But he's more than right. He is like a million times correct. That's my issue, right? I think that, I thought that everything, if I wasn't involved, it wasn't going to get done. And that's not why you pay people. You pay people to get a job done. And it took me some time. It's crazy that I'm still talking about this after I talked about it at Eagle Talk, but
it's okay. But that's evolution, because I think sometimes people think, I have this revelation and I'm just gonna be like, I've been knowing I shouldn't eat carbs the way I do, but I still do. So you have to.
Well, full disclaimer, what I've been doing throughout the years has worked.
Yes.
I just don't think it's worked. It wasn't scalable.
It wasn't scalable,
right?
And you were doing good. But we know that good is the enemy of great, right? Because we're doing good working in our business. But if we want it to be great and have the ultimate goal of time freedom and, not dealing with the headaches and the day to day, then there has to be some leverage put in place. Yeah.
So identifying what my issue was in my business, which is the working on, is I had to identify my who's. Always referencing the Who Not How book, and I had to get some who's in place, and not just business. I don't want to just make this a business kind of podcast, and accountability.
Yeah.
And I'm going to a mastermind at the beginning of November for just relationship, faith, all of the things that everybody needs, and I'm making sure now that I am giving the same amount of time to other areas that I was in in my business, I guess.
Yep. So I love that you referenced the book Who Not How, and we're gonna put that in the show notes so that you all can see it. But it's definitely a book that we were introduced to last year from our pastor, and it has changed the game. Yeah. So Who Not How, the whole premise of the book is that most of us, when we need to accomplish a goal or when we have a problem, we try to think about how are we going to, it's Who Not How.
Yeah.
I always get Who Not How and the Power of Who confused, but it's Who Not How.
It's Who Not How for sure.
So we try to figure out how am I going to get this done? How am I going to scale this business? How am I going to get my product out? How am I going to edit all these videos? How am I going to do X, Y, and Z? Where the real question that we need to be asking is who? Yeah. Who do I need to put in place in order to execute and grow and to continue to grow? That piece right there is a game changer, because thinking about the who does is that it now allows us to leverage the best use of our time and our best gifts. However, and I know somebody is on there, they listen, they like, but I can't afford a who. I can't afford a who. Here's the thing, baby. Let me tell you something. Is that like, I never forget once when I first got into real estate, my team leader, because I was on a team, she recommended, because I was starting to get some traction, that I hire another agent within the team to show my list, to show my buyers, because I was primarily a listing agent. And I didn't want to do that because I needed to pay him like 15% of my commission. And I was like, man, I really don't want to do that, but whatever. But then I finally did it. And a lot of the buyers that I was getting, they were shopping like an hour away from where I lived, but it was closer to where he lived. I vividly remember one time I was at a listing appointment, getting new business, signing a listing appointment, and he texted me and said, hey, such and such really like this house. She's ready to put in an offer. And I thought to myself, if I would have been showing her that house, then I would have missed out on the listing appointment, right?
Yeah.
And not only would I have missed out on the listing appointment and the listing, she might not have gotten that house because of time. Like, he could get to it faster, and we were able to provide better customer service for her because he lived in an area, knew the area, and all that stuff. So, but if I was unwilling to pay that and to make that investment, then I wouldn't have been able to leverage my time. And that one day made me like over $10,000 because of how I played it. So I just want to encourage people, when you're thinking about working on your business, right? If you are a chef and you're doing great, but what's tripping you up is that the cleanup at the end of the night when you do your private parties,
great example.
or the chopping or something like that, who can you put in place? Because the time that you're spending doing that menial work, you know, anybody can chop the meat. I think, like, chefs don't come and yell at me, but I'm thinking like chopping the vegetables is not as intricate as, you know, timing the food, right? You don't want to be messing up the dish because you're chopping. So having a who in place is an absolute game changer, and it's definitely something that we recommend when it comes to working on your business.
I want to go back to when you said I can't afford a who, because I'm thinking about, in our meeting yesterday, with the team, I was asking them, well, how bad do you want it? Right. And it goes, and it's really just that, how bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, you figure it out. So we are in the process of my secondary real estate company and branding the equity firm. And we were working on a logo, somebody to do a logo for us. And I mean, what's a logo? $150, $200 on Fiverr, right? So I could say, well, I don't have $200, but you know, I can go spend it on some Jordans. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, where are your priorities? So even though if you don't have, you can barter, you can pay later, you know, however you figure it out is how you figure it out. But if you want it bad enough, then that's not a problem. Yeah,
and I mean, let's be real. Like, whatever we want, we figure out a way to get it done.
Definitely.
You know, like there have been many situations where I'll even take, like, I remember, throwback, I'm about to throw it all the way back.
Go for it.
When 1995, no, maybe 1997, you and I were dating, and you wanted a Coogee jacket for your birthday.
Okay. The blue one, I still got it.
The blue, you do have we got to put up a picture of the blue Coogee jacket.
It's fresh. So it's still today. It's still fresh.
That means it was a good investment. Yeah. But I was a senior in high school, and I want to say that jacket, I mean, I am not encouraging any young girl to do this, but the jacket was like $800. But I worked at the store that sold the jacket, so I got a 50% discount, and I waited for it to go on sale. But it was like $300 and some. Still a lot of money for a senior in high school, even though I was working to get it. But you know what? I saved for that jacket. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I had them put, like, I was strategic. I had them put it to the side. Then the one that I wanted to buy, you ended up with the blue one because the black one got sold from under me. Then we went to the River Oaks location, or I did a lot of stuff, picked up some extra hours, figured it out, because you were that important to me that I wanted to give you this jacket for you. And I don't even know if you asked me for it, but I wanted to give this jacket to you. So the same thing, like our business, right? What do you have to do in order to create that freedom for yourself? Because the goal, like, I'm not an entrepreneur to work till I'm 90. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I'm looking for time freedom. So having someone in place, or opening yourself up, and doing the hard stuff, making the hard decisions, and investing, because at the end of the day, when you invest in a who, don't look at it like I'm paying them all this. No, I am investing in my business, right? Yeah. And you have to find the right who, but invest in your business. And I do want to say one thing real quick too, and I want you to answer this. Some people are reluctant to bring a who on, or are just caught up in doing everything in their business because they don't trust the people to do the work. So it's not the financial part. It's are you going to do it at the same level that I'm going to do it? What would you say to that?
I would say systems. I think the who is great, and that's a major key. But if you just hire, I think you say this all the time, don't hire the person for the position. What is it?
Yeah, don't hire for the person, hire for the position.
Right. Yeah. So even when you have that who in place, you have to give them a system, and that's additional training, education, putting them around. I just listened to this last night. Putting them around somebody that's doing it at a level that you want that person to be as skillful as at that job.
Yeah,
I think that's real important. You can't just hire somebody or get you a who in place and just say, go ahead now, y'all go figure it out. That's not how it works. So to answer your question, I think that the systems are everything.
Yeah.
I know that you with Stephanie and Tempest, you have amazing systems. Like I woke up yesterday morning and you were on the call and you were going back and forth answering questions and asking questions and answering questions. And I literally thought you were on the phone with a client. Y'all were role playing.
I was on a role playing.
Right. I'm thinking in my mind, like, why am I not doing this? So that's exactly what I'm saying, because you are giving them information, scenarios that they're going to be in this world when they're dealing with buyers and sellers, right?
Yeah.
So that's a system that they need to have when they're going out here in the marketplace. I literally thought you were on the phone with a client until you hung up, and it was like,
hey, I love y'all.
Yeah, right,
you were like, wait, who's that?
So that's an amazing example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and you know what? So I have a few thoughts about that too. So the number one thing that I will say is, first of all, even if you have systems, like no one is going to do it just like you.
No, they're not.
Right?
No.
Because they're not you, and you got to be okay with that. So if you giving out A+ work, like as an entrepreneur, we got to be okay if the who is at a B+, right? Because again, they're going to free you up to do what you need to do. But with that being said, and this is where a lot of people don't, like, full disclosure with my team, this is the first year that I've had a team. And when I started with the team, I had a conversation with my team leader, and she made reference to this. She said, okay, you're starting a team. This is great, because in the long run, this is what's going to grow you and free you in business and give you the capacity to serve more people. However, you got to know your first year or two building your team, your production is going to go down, right? Yeah. And that's true, because full disclosure, if I didn't have a team this year, I would have made more money in my pocket. But because I'm taking time to coach them, I'm giving them leads that I could service on my own, but my capacity, on one hand I could say, I could have serviced them all on my own, but really could I have? Because what would my capacity have been? I might have had to turn someone away, as opposed to saying, great, you know what, this person is an expert in this area, we're gonna partner together to serve you.
Right.
But I have to be okay with taking, if you want to consider it an L, this is why people don't like to work on their business, because they feel like, I can't take the L.
Let me stop you right there. Amazing point, but and this is just an email that just came into my mind. I'm really glad you had that conversation with your team lead.
Yes.
Because she set that expectation.
For me.
Right? Because
absolutely.
you would have just went through it like, this is not working. This don't make
sense.
Exactly.
Let me quit the team.
Right.
I made more money last year by myself.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And what I didn't have by myself last year was more freedom. You know what I'm saying? More freedom to be creative and working on things that would continue to grow, so that I don't just have horizontal growth every year, but that I grow vertically.
Yeah. I'm speaking from my own mess as per usual. Just yesterday, I was complaining about contractors. And so there's level of contractors, right? That you can hire somebody that's cheap, or you can pay for somebody to do a great job but pay a premium. And it's nothing that I'm learning. It's something that I know with the particular project, but it's 2 hours away, so I can't get a main team to get there and get the job done. But
so you haven't.
I haven't. I haven't.
You went to what was familiar.
Exactly. I went to what was familiar. I went for what was the low hanging fruit. I went for what was going to continue.
You went for who already proved
who time and time again. I just keep getting bit by the snake. But I should have Craigslist or just went for a referral from somebody in that area that would have made these particular projects run a lot smoother, on time, possibly a little bit over budget, but it would have been a lot of the problems that I'm dealing with right now in these projects, I definitely would not be dealing with.
And let's be honest, like, you're probably going to be out of more money than being over budget in that sense. And what I challenged Corey with was like, I don't care who the contractor is. You've been in this game too long to be on the phone with contractors. Like, you shouldn't be the one talking to them no more.
And that's the working in and not on.
Yeah.
Right. If I had, there should be a buffer at this point for somebody to deal with the contractors. And you're right.
And as we start to conclude, I think about this, and this is something when you're working on your business, I think that it's important, and this was helpful when we went to Broken Bow last week, is sometimes you need to step away, separate yourself from the day-to-day so that you can have a bird's eye view of looking into things, so that not only you can see how things are working, what's working well, what's not working well, but also start to future forecast. So one of the activities, y'all, that we did, and we're going to do an episode in a couple weeks about just kind of our goal setting process. But when we went to Broken Bow, we didn't just say, oh, we want to make $5 million next year, and yes, that looks good. But we asked ourselves a few questions. Do you remember the questions we asked ourselves? Look, I'm the teacher, so I came with the notebook.
I don't know. It could have been where we wanted to make, the steps to get there, the people, how much time. I mean, we asked a million questions.
It was a lot of questions.
In 3 days.
So these were the starting questions that we had. So,
I know what it was.
You remember what it was?
Yeah. What are you currently doing? What do you not want to do anymore? What do you not have to do? You're
getting close, baby.
Okay.
The first thing that I asked was, because we did this in the beginning of October. So we said, okay, let's pretend that today is January 1st, 2023. So the end of the year. What do we want to be? What are you most proud of? Right. And we wrote down what we were most proud of. And we did it based on January 23rd, because what happens a lot of times
January 2023.
January 2023. A lot of times people, like, if we would have had this conversation in December 28th, then we can only talk about what we'd accomplished. But we not only were able to say, okay, this is what we're proud of, but I even put up, and you did too, put up a couple of things that have not happened yet.
This is key.
Yeah.
This is key on switching this from the end of the year to the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yes. Yeah. Because what we did was we wrote down, okay, my January 1st self, I want her to be proud that this happened. And as of the date that I put it down, it hadn't happened yet. But now I'm laser focused on getting it done. Getting that done. Then we said, okay, on January 1st, what would have our shoulda, coulda, wouldas been? So shoulda did this, woulda did that. And we wrote that down. And then we wrote, okay, now it's January 1st, 2024. What are we most proud of? And then from there, we backwards planned it to say, okay, to be our 2023 and 2024 self, not what goals, but what habits do we need to have in place in order to get there? And a lot of that was really stepping out of the day-to-day and working on the things that might not, like real talk, like Eagle Talk right now is something that we're really passionate about. And it's not income generating in that way yet, but because we're working on it, we know that it's going, like, for sure, the seeds that we're planting in 2022, we're gonna see them reap. But if we were only working on what's working right now, then, and when I say what's working financially right now, what we're eating on, then we wouldn't be able to really see any benefits from this project later. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying, and I think the overall thesis of this talk is analyzation. Yeah. Right. We took some time to kind of analyze past, present, and future. And I was listening to you last night. You were talking to someone on a podcast and something I was listening to last night, and you were talking about talking to someone in your industry. I don't think it was Chance. I can't remember who it was, but you were talking about how you could see and hear the holes. Yes. Who was that? I
was just saying that, so first of all, that means you were listening to the Real Estate Bestie podcast.
Yeah, I was.
So first of all, thank you for listening to my podcast that I got.
I told you I study, man. I don't just play around with it.
Listen, you better have you a man to listen to your other podcast. So if y'all haven't checked out the Real Estate Bestie, and if you are in the real estate industry, I do have content specific for real estate agents. But I was just saying in that podcast how it's so important to have mentors, to have people who've gone ahead of you, because I can listen to 9 times out of 10, I can listen to a realtor. They hit me up on Instagram and all this stuff all the time, and in 5 minutes, I can hear where the holes are.
Yeah.
Like I can hear, oh, you need a coach.
Yeah.
Oh, you probably need to consider a team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you probably need to do it because I've been there.
Yeah.
But if you are not putting yourself in position, like I told you one time, this girl asked me, I went to lunch with her really on the strength of another friendship. Like normally I wouldn't have gone to lunch with a stranger.
Right.
But on the strength of another friendship, I went with her because she wanted to talk about her business. She wasn't receptive to any, like she really wanted to invite me to lunch to talk about herself. Which is fine. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna meet you again.
Yeah.
But we have to be receptive and take some time to analyze and hear and figure out, okay, how do we now move forward?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing with that, y'all, and I'm gonna go back to this, is that we need time to think.
Yeah.
We need time to think.
Yeah. Okay. So in wrapping up today's episode, we talked a lot about habits.
Yeah, we did.
And we have a freebie for you. Would you let them know?
Yeah, y'all. So one of the things that we, even in our planning and stepping away, we really looked at the things we want to accomplish and know that we can put the biggest goals on the board, but if we don't have the habits that support the goals, we won't get there.
Yeah.
And we have created a guide for entrepreneurs. So head on over to eagletalkpodcast.com/5 habits, eagletalkpodcast.com/5 habits. You can get that free download right now. And literally, like, I wish that someone who had gone before us would have created this sort of resource for us, because it just will be really helpful. And especially as you all are preparing to finish the year strong and just really go out and kill it in 2023.
Yes.
Like, I can't believe it's 2023.
Yeah.
Like, I just met you Tuesday.
Michael Jordan year.
Oh my goodness, in the Michael Jordan year. But definitely make sure that you reach out and get this resource, and then do us a favor.
What's that?
If this episode has been helpful for you, go ahead and screenshot it and throw it on social media. Then that way other people who follow you, who are working on their business, they're getting frustrated, they're overwhelmed with this whole entrepreneurial deal. This episode, if it blessed you in any way, we want to share the love and share the wealth. So make sure that you send it out to people, and it just helps us continue to grow.
Yeah, guys. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Hopefully this was a great information for you. You can apply it in your business moving forward in 2023. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
All right. Bye, y'all.
See y'all.